Hello, I'm Nick here with NoiseGate, and today we're going to be talking about microphone modeling and, in particular, Universal Audio's modeling microphones. So this video is the first of a two-part series, and today we're going to be really focusing on what is microphone modeling, why should we use it, and Universal Audio, what do they have? The next video we'll be looking at actual application of this, like how do we use it, how does it sound? So if that sounds interesting, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell to stay up to date. So historically, if you had a studio, whether that was a commercial studio or a studio at your house, you'd have to have quite a lot of different microphones. Every microphone has essentially a different sound profile. One microphone might sound good on an acoustic guitar, another might sound good on a hi-hat. One vocal microphone might sound really good on me, but it'll sound really bad on you. You'd have to have a variety of different microphones to essentially be able to use for any circumstance. Naturally, this is pretty expensive because microphones are not particularly cheap. Like, think if you had a Neumann U87, which is one of the most famous microphones in the world. Those are immensely expensive. If I just go on the internet and I type in Neumann 87. These are all upwards of 4,000 Australian dollars. So that's quite a lot of money, and that's just one microphone. You might need a 67 as well. A 67 tube mic can be $15,000. And then that's not even going into if you want other types of microphones that aren't Neumann. And these are just vocal microphones largely. You might want different mics for your different acoustic guitars, your different electric guitars, your drum microphones. Like, you kind of get the idea that very quickly you have an immensely expensive mic lockup. So the implication of this is, one, immensely expensive. You have to spend so much money. You have to have so many different microphones, which also you need to service because microphones eventually break. So you probably have like 20 microphones in a locker, which is awesome, but expensive. They break. It's just kind of a lot, right? You have to have a lot of stuff. It's also quite overwhelming because what do I use for each thing? You know, every thing is different. Every guitar is different. There's just a lot of variables that are suddenly kind of thrown in your face, and it's expensive variables. Now, at some point in time, I want to say in the kind of early to mid 2000s, I was trying to research this and I was struggling to find an actual date for when a modeling microphone came to play, but my assumption is it's pretty recent because of DSP requirements. Like, it's software based, so when we didn't have computers, this wasn't an option. At some point fairly recently, someone had the great idea of creating a modeling microphone. Now, the idea is you've got a microphone, such as this one. This is the Universal Audio SD-1. Now, someone had the great idea that they could create a microphone that has a really flat profile that is quite malleable, and then you could use modeling software, which models other microphones, which have different EQ curves and how they handle loudness and how they distort or saturate. There's a lot of variables, but if you had a really transparent microphone and then you brought in the characteristics of something else, that you could have many microphones in one microphone. So I've been using modeling microphones for, I want to say, about 7 years now. I started out with the Townsend Lab Sphere L22, which to my understanding also was one of the early modeling microphones. Again, it's kind of hard to find exact dates of these things. I believe that Slate Digital, Townsend Labs was some of the earlier ones. Anyway, I've been using this microphone for the last 7 years. I still use it today, professionally recording people. I love it. I think it's a fantastic microphone. The actual microphone itself sounds fantastic. And then when you add on the modeling software where it can just change and be so malleable to how you need it, it is excellent. So I've been using that for quite a long time. And at some point, Universal Audio acquired Townsend Labs. So now the Sphere is part of Universal Audio's collection. We're not talking about Sphere, we're talking about Hemisphere. So this microphone here, the SD-1, is part of Universal Audio's range of modeling microphones. So I've been lucky enough to be trialing out the SD-1 and the SP-1, so the dynamic and then the pencil mics by Universal Audio, and they've both been fantastic. Hemisphere is Universal Audio's modeling system, modeling software, and it works with all the Apollo interfaces, so basically you can run it in real time. Interestingly enough, you don't have to have an Apollo interface to actually use it. You can run it natively via Spark. When you purchase the microphone, you get codes that then you can input into Spark and you get access to the software natively, so you don't actually need an Apollo interface, which is amazing. So these are the mics that you have for the Hemisphere range. You've got the pencils, which I've got, the dynamic, the condenser microphone, so probably your traditional kind of vocal microphone, and then some instrument mics down here. Now, once you select it, you'll then have a number of microphones to choose from for how you want it to sound. I think a good analogy for microphone modeling is kind of like a guitar amp simulator to some extent anyway. You've got a DI signal with whatever effects that you want. So in this case, the DI signal plus the effects is whatever you're recording, my voice. And then the modeling is the amps that you're putting it through. Now, amps might be a little bit more extreme than modeling. It's generally pretty subtle, and I'll run you through a quick example of this in a second. It's giving you options. You can choose different sounds and tones to kind of pull through that DI signal. And essentially, that's what Hemisphere is doing. It's just applying a profile to a microphone. What I love about the Hemisphere software in particular is that if you click this little eye button, if you hover up to the top and you click the eye, it tells you a bit about all the different mics that you've got. For instance, the DN7, which is modeled off the SM7, recorded for Michael Jackson's vocals with this mic. It's used for vocals, it's used for guitar amps, it's used for snares sometimes. It gives a few little features like when the access, which is this one, is set to 180, it takes off the windscreen, as if you pulled this little black thing off. This is a speaking mic essentially. It's for broadcast that has more presence, but it's sometimes also used for kick. The DN20, which is I think the RE20 by the Voice Electra. Satin ribbon mic used for voices like Frank Sinatra, Elvis Presley. Primarily a vocal mic, but it also sounds wonderful on brass instruments apparently. As you can see, it just kind of gives you all of this information so that you sort of know what kind of context you might want to use it for. And this is the same if you're using the pencils or any of the others. It's really good because it will often tell you what it might be good on, such as this small diaphragm condenser mic could be good on acoustic guitars and strings, good for snares, pianos, snare tops, drum overheads, which is cool, and other things. The microphones that come with the pencils are a tiny bit more obscure, I would say, than the dynamic, and particularly compared to, say, the condenser, where you've got a lot of the classics, the 47, 67, 87, the TLM 103, you got the Sony 800. There's some kind of instant classics here that you may recognize if you don't with the pencil mic or the dynamic mic. So why use modeling microphones like the Hemisphere mics? Well, just as a quick example, so if we go and have a look at how expensive the UA SD-1 is, it's 537 AUD, 590 AUD, 590 AUD, so kind of consistently in that sort of mid to high $500 range. That's a pretty reasonable price. Now, if we went and tried to get a SM7A, which is what I tend to speak with, it's that black microphone. It's this microphone, the DN7, this SM7A. If you wanted to buy an SM7A, these are going for $1,000, $1,400, and I'm pretty sure that's US, so that's probably like 1,800 AUD. If you wanted to buy the SM7B, which is quite similar to the SM7A, that's a little bit cheaper, but it's still $800 just for that. If you wanted to get the RE20, that might cost you $1,300. So already just getting two of these microphones that comes with this microphone, that's like $2,000 instead of $590. So as you can see, it's a lot more cost efficient. So this locker is worth quite a lot more than the price of the microphone. And I will say that not only is it cost efficient in the perspective of having multiple microphones inside of one microphone, it's also just a really good sounding microphone and it's built really well. The SM7 is a fantastic microphone, but the noise floor is terrible. This sounds as good as the SM7. It has a way lower noise floor. I use this instead of the SM7. I prefer this microphone to the SM7. So beyond the major benefit of having a more cost-effective microphone that can model more expensive microphones than multiple, is that it's just flexible. You can record with the microphone on if you're using a Universal Audio interface, where I can actually just like print the effect essentially. You won't be hearing it currently, but I can hear when I change the microphone and how that sounds. So I can print it, which is awesome, but I don't have to. I can turn this off, or I can turn off just to monitor instead of record. And basically it just gives me the ability to change things after the fact. That flexibility is amazing. If you're working with the singer and you don't really know the best mic that might suit their voice, you can just kind of let them hear one and then change it later, and basically it does the EQ moves for you. Some microphones are brighter, some are darker. You might prefer to actually do it at the source rather than with an EQ later potentially. So it gives you this great level of flexibility from that perspective, where you don't have to commit to sounds just yet, but it also just gives you flexibility because you've got multiple microphones. In the past, if you spent $800 on an SM7B, that's all you've got. But now you've got that microphone plus 4 others. Or if you got the pencil, you also get 5 mics. So essentially 5 mics for the price of 1, which is awesome, and more expensive mics. As I said, next video I'll be demonstrating some of the actual application, but an awesome thing that you can do, and I do this with the pencil mics, is if I'm recording an acoustic guitar, I can record it once using one of the microphone models and then record everything exactly the same position, same guitar part, but I change the microphone and I get a different tone. So then when I pan them, I get really unique sounding guitar tones, and that just sounds awesome. It just allows you to experiment in ways that you couldn't really easily do otherwise. Like if you've mic'd up a drum kit, you don't have to change the mics. You don't have to change where the positions are. You can just change how the mic actually sounds. Like, that's amazing. That's an amazing use of technology. This video was actually to just give you a bit of information, but I will quickly show you now the sounds of this microphone with my voice. So I've just recorded a little bit of me speaking, and I haven't printed anything, so this is just the raw vocal through the SD-1. Hello, welcome. How's it going? Today I'm going to show you all about the Hemisphere microphones by Universal Audio. My name is Nick. This is Noisegate. Hello. Wow. Haha. A beautiful piece of dialogue. And before I do that, actually, I'm just going to jump to the UA Spark interface, because this is where you'll download the software. And see, I've got the Sphere software here, and then also the Hemisphere mic collection software here. So this is just the Spark version, so the native. Once you've installed that, if you type in Hemisphere, it's the UADX, so the native. That means it doesn't require an Apollo interface. When you pull it up, you'll choose what microphone. This is the SD-1, so we'll click that. Now, I'll bypass it and then I'll turn it on so you can hear the difference from the passive to the DN7. Hello, welcome. Hello, welcome. How's it going? Today, I'm going to show you all. You hear the top end kind of round off a little bit. I'm just going to play it through and I'll cycle through all the microphones here. These are all pretty subtle. It's not like with the guitar amp analogy, which can be radically different. These are more subtle. Hello, welcome. How's it going? Today I'm going to show you all about the Hemisphere microphones by Universal Audio. My name is Nick. This is Noisegate. Hello. Wow. Haha. Hello, welcome. How's it going? Today I'm going to show you all about the Hemisphere microphones by Universal Audio. My name is Nick. This is Noisegate. Hello. Wow. Haha. Hello, welcome. How's it going? Today I'm going to show you all about the Hemisphere microphones by Universal Audio. My name is Nick. This is Noisegate. Hello. Bit annoying hearing me speak like that, but you can hear the subtle effects. Now for me, what I'm really enjoying is this DN88. So I play here. Hello, welcome. Sounds a little bit rounded off. Hello, welcome. Has a bit more presence, but when I get to the DN88, it just sounds a little bit more bright and less bassy. Hello, welcome. How's it going? Today I'm going to show you all about the Hemisphere microphones by Universal Audio. I think that sounds cool. That works for my voice, might not work for yours. I think that speaking is one of those things that generally there's a little bit less variance, but when you get into singing or a guitar or percussion, that's where it really starts to shine. So thank you very much for watching. I hope this has helped you get a better understanding of microphone modeling and the Universal Audio range, particularly the SD-1 and the SP-1. If you found it helpful, hit like and make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell to stay up to date with part 2, where we'll actually be diving into how these sound on different things such as acoustic guitar, singing, percussion, and more.